Hello, everybody. This is actually a really fun thing we get to do today, and last class really enjoyed it. So hope you are ready. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys know you're doing your Learning from My Elders project. Well, today I've handed out virtually your Learning from My Elders digital notebook. You'll see right here, this is the assignment that I've handed out. This right here, these are the slides that I'm going to be showing you today, so you can always go back at any point and take a look at them. Here is a resource for free to use images. I'll go over this in the slide, but this is a resource for you. There's also your particular Google Slide digital notebook. So this notebook is where you're going to be putting the final pieces of everything you're doing for your Learning from My Elder project. Today, we're going to be customizing your notebooks, and we can think about this as I'm handing you out a blank canvas, and you can customize this with your own creativity, change the look, the feel, et cetera, et cetera. I'll go over what you can particularly do. You'll be working on this digital notebook for quite a long time. And as you work on it, you're going to add photos, video, audio, text, et cetera. That's one of the reasons why we practiced adding video files last time I was with you. So let's get started with the presentation. So here, let's talk about how we're going to be customizing your notebook. As I just showed you, this is the assignment I handed out to you. Everything that you need is right here in this assignment. So what is this digital notebook? Well, this is sort of the framework for what you're going to be putting everything that you end up doing for your project here as a final place to present it all. So it's your digital sort of notebook. You can see there are placeholders for everything that you're going to be putting here. But there's also something called helper arrows and info text. As you can see, the arrows show you what the helper text is referring to. This right here is just to help you. You need to make sure that when you don't need this anymore, you delete it. All right. You should not have this in your final work. It's only to help you. This you cannot delete. This is just part of the template, but you won't actually see this in the presentation. All right, so let's talk about customizing. So you're going to be changing the look of your digital notebook today to make it reflect you, your elder, the skill that you're learning. Things that we're going to be able to change are the background, image, or color, fonts. We can add shapes, drawings, colors, etc. This is your chance to be creative and make this digital notebook distinctive for your work. Let's go over how we can do this. So in terms of Google Slides basics, what do we need to know? This right here, this is the Google Slides main menu. This is different than right up here, which is the Chrome menu. So all the functionality that we need for Google Slides is located here. And if sometimes you can't remember where something is, you can look in here and see if one of these is where it is. How can we customize our notebook? So here we have some examples from last year. And as you can see, they all look very different, right? You can change your notebook to meet what you want your notebook to look like, right? These all look different, but they all started with the very same sort of blank template that was handed out to them. What we're going to be doing is like really customizing it to our particular project. So first things first, just like everything, when you first get something, you're going to want to put your name on it. So when you first get this, you're going to actually open up your slide. Your slide is right here under your work. And you're going to put where it says name goes here. And here's the little helper text. Put in your first name, last initial. And then you're like, great, I don't need this anymore. You select this and delete it. So it goes from this to this. That's the first thing you're going to do even before you customize anything. But before we start actually customizing, we want to ask ourselves, what look are we going for? Do we have a theme or concept in mind? Right? So we kind of want to tie this into what we're actually going to be learning. So let's get started. In my pretend scenario, I'm going to be growing pineapples. I'm going to learn how to grow pineapples from a relative. So I've decided my theme is all about summer and inspired by pineapples because that is what has to do with the skill that I'm learning. So things that I can change, first off, are the font and the font color. So I've sort of decided that for all my header fonts, they're going to be this Pacifico. And for all my body fonts, they're going to be Comforta. I also have a specific color that I've chosen for each because they're in line with sort of my theme. Very importantly, see how it's underlined here? My viewers are still able to read this text. No matter what you do, your viewers need to be able to read your text. That means there's enough contrast between the background and the foreground that I can read this. All right, that's really important. So as you're working in your notebook, you can always tell if you're doing a good job is if you ask a neighbor, say, can you read this? And they can, then it's readable. If they can't read it, then there's things you're gonna have to do to make it readable. Did you know that you can add additional fonts besides the ones in the drop-down list? So here's all different fonts, but you can actually go into more fonts and have additional ones. I'm going to show you this when I do my little demo. All right, so we can start with thinking about, do we want to change the background color? So if you select a specific slide, you can then go click on this little button for the background, and you can change the background color. You can change it to one of the ones here or one of the ones here, or you click the little plus button and you can do a custom color. If you want this to be set for all the slides, you click add to theme. If you're like, hey, for my, my intro slide, I want it to have a different thing. I want it to have a picture. You can, instead of picking color, click choose image and choose an image that you've downloaded to your computer to have as your background. You can also do the same thing in terms of adding it to the theme. Now, in terms of images, one thing that's really important is Creative Commons and public domain. Have you guys heard of Creative Commons and public domain?
Yeah. No.
Oh, awesome. If you haven't, I'm talking about it today. So Creative Commons means the person who created the work allows people to use it. Awesome. Public domain means that either someone released their work into the public domain, or that after a certain amount of time, usually at 7 years after the creative passes, that the work then belongs to the public and is free to use. So when you use work, say, that has a special license like the Creative Commons 0, that means that the creator has released it to the public domain. You don't necessarily have to attribute it when it's released to the public domain. This is with sites like Pixabay, Pexels, and Unsplash. But it is always good online etiquette to cite your sources, no matter what. Why is this important? One, legally, work that is copyrighted means the person who created it does not want or allow anyone else to use it, or they choose how it's used. This is the law. It does not matter that we're in a school setting. This is the law. So the first thing is legally. Second is ethically. Just like we want our rights respected as creators, we need to respect the rights of other creators. So this is a good practice to get in the habit of, not just in school, but in our everyday lives and our future careers, okay? So how do we make sure that we're actually finding images that are free to use? One is, and I'm going to show you this later, is when we do a Google search, we click on tools, and under usage rights, we can actually parse our search to be searching just for Creative Commons licenses. And the second is there's actually websites that have images that have been released to the public domain, such as Unsplash or Pixels, and I've curated different websites for you to use. Question for you, can I read my text here?
No.
Now, this is really important because I need my text to be readable. That's the whole entire point. But I don't have to completely change anything. I can use shapes to make sure that my text is readable. So I can add a shape behind here to make this readable and still use the image and still use my text and still use the colors. What I would do is click on the little shapes button and choose a shape. Then I draw out the shape. I change the order, I send it to the back, and then I change the color. It doesn't have to be solid color. It can actually be transparent. And if it's transparent, that means that you can still see the image behind and the text as well. Speaking of adding images, when you add images, you can also crop images within slides, which I will show you how to do. And also you can crop them into specific spaces, particular like shapes. And you can see here, I've done and added effects to it. right here, the paint format tool, that's this one right here, is really handy because this allows you to copy the formatting for one object, like a block of text or shape, to multiple others in Google Slides. This is important because we're going to want the sort of theme of our slide to match. So if I change the header font in one slide, I want it to match in all the other ones. And I don't really necessarily want to manually be going in and doing that. I can use this instead, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And if you want to be super extra, you can use emojis to add a little sort of extra to your slides. And I'll show you that. When it's your time to work, you're going to open up your slide and you're going to open up your assignment and then open up your slide, and here are the resources. So let's pretend that I'm you and I'm ready to get started. Here is my assignment. I'm opening up my slide. It's right here. I'm also going to open this up for my resource. And I'm ready to get started. First things first, I am going to do what? Put my name. So my name is Mira G. And then I don't need this. So I select it, delete this. If I'm having issues deleting it, I can just drag and then delete it. So then I delete it. All right. And now I'm like, all right. I kind of want mine to be fun and summary. So I'm going to start with this right here. And I'm going to look at what fonts I have. You know, these are all very well and good, but I'm not seeing what I like. So I click on more fonts. And here I can search for a particular font. I can also sort by different sort of things here, such as I can say, hey, I'd like a handwriting font. And then here are all different ones. I can tell these are the ones that are already installed for me. And some of these other. So like, I really like this one. So I'm going to say, okay. Awesome. I'm also going to go in and change the color to something more summery. So make it maybe orange. And this one, I don't really like Arial. I like Georgia, and I want to make this one black. Now that I know that I want my sort of fonts to be Courgette, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this to Courgette, and I'm going to make it orange. I can go through each slide to change it, but that's a lot of work. So if I use this paint format, if I click it once, I can then go in and I can drag it on something else and change it. But say I don't want to keep going in and doing that. If I select what I want the format to change, I can double click on this and then it puts it into like perm mode. So then I can keep going through all my slides and changing all of them. Keep going to all of them and changing all of them. So this just makes it a lot faster. And then when I want to get out of it, I can just click it and I'm out. So that's just really handy in terms of changing my fonts. Now I'm ready to, change the background. So I'm going to go into background and, here are colors I can use. I can also click on this and do a custom color. And you know what? I kind of want like a light green, and I'm going to add it to my theme. All right, but you know what? I kind of want a different image for my sort of my first slide. I'm going to go back over here and I'm like, okay, so I can go to Google and search for pineapples. So say I search for pineapples. If I click on images right here under tools, this gives me the ability to change usage rights. Creative Commons, it means that it's free to use. So this is one option. If I'm not really finding things here, I can instead look at, say, maybe Unsplash. I can look for pineapples. And I don't know about this one, but what about Pexels? I'm going to try this one and I'm going to look for pineapples. Okay. Ooh, I really like this one. So I'm going to download this to my computer. And by default, the downloads go to my download folder unless I've changed this. All right, so now I'm ready. I'm going to customize my first slide. Going to go back into background, choose image. I can either browse my computer or I can drag and drop. All right, and then done. And I'm like, this is great, but is this really very readable? No, I can't really read this part. I can't really read this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a shape. And now you can add a square, but you can also add different shapes. So I'm going to actually add a circle. I'm going to add a circle here because this will give me the ability to add contrast so I can read this. But hey, wait. Where did my text go? I actually need to change this order. So I can right click on this and go to order, or I can go to arrange order and send to back. So everything you add to your slide is add in layers. Now, this looks great, but I can't see my pineapple anymore. So right here, this is the fill in the stroke of the shape that I added. I don't really want a stroke, but I do want to have a color. If I go under here and I press the plus button, this will allow me to change the color. So I could actually have this as like red, but I can also change the transparency. I can have any color and any transparency that I want. So I go, okay. Oh, can't really read that, can I? So instead, I'm gonna make that maybe more of a white. So now, can I read that? Awesome. So then I can keep on working. So as I'm going in and I'm customizing things, there's lots of things I can do. I can add images into my document. And if with this image selected, I can click crop and I can crop my images. This is really important when you're adding images to different areas. So for example, when I am adding an image for me, I want it to fit in this box. I can crop
That would
it.
be your picture.
Yeah, that's like my picture. I can crop it. So you want your images to sort of fit and meet in those boxes. So that's where cropping comes in hand. But I can even be fancy. I can crop this by clicking right here under mask image into a shape. So say I want to crop this into a diamond. Woo, fancy. I can also add a border and I can change the color. So I can get even fancy with adding images. Other things that I can do is, like I mentioned, if I want to add some emojis, there is a extension called Joy Pixels and pineapple emoji. I copy this, I add it here, and then I just change the size so I can see it. And so you can sort of use emojis as a way to add some extra, like, pizzazz to your presentation. If you're like, hey, Mira, I don't really like this, it doesn't go along with my theme, you can actually add another icon on top of that. So if you want to do this, let me know, but there's something called icons for slides and docs. And I can install this. And then this will let me, I meant to not do that. Okay, install, continue. And this will allow me, you need an icon there, but if you're not able to see that icon, you can always add one on top of it to really customize yours. So say I have a really dark theme and I need like a light icon, I'm not able to see it. I can see it here, but say I had like a black background, I could go under icons and I could look for, say for this one, let's find one that's really easy. A letter, say I'm looking for a letter. I can find a letter. I'm like, ooh, this one I really like. I can insert it. Right, so as long as you like cover up the icon, that's fine. You're just sort of customizing it. So you could always do something like that. Or, if you have like a video, let's go here. So there's all sorts of ways that you can make this customized to yourself. So say, I find a video here, right? So there's all sorts of things. So if you don't like these icons, you can always cover them up with something else. So there's tons of things you can do. Just remember that you don't have to be done customizing your work today because you're going to be doing this project for a while. You might even decide to change up your style a little bit as you work on your project. All right, does this make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Awesome. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to have you go into Google Classroom, open up the Learning from My Elders, and open up your slide.